What's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the podcast. In this podcast, I have a great guest, David Surber. Is that how I pronounce your name?
That was perfect, man.
Perfect. Yeah. If you guys have no clue, I'm just gonna give you a rough rundown of what happened in November, right?
Yeah, pretty exciting.
So David was featured on all of news outlets, being one of the first guys going and touching and testing out the monolith in person. I think you were the third person on the site, right?
Yeah, so I think we had a helicopter crew find it, right, the public
Yeah.
safety, and
Yeah.
then we had another, I think, pretty high-level influencer, business owner who helicoptered in. So I guess you could say I'm the first one in on foot.
I see.
So
Yeah. I mean, when I saw that, I think I was in like Pennsylvania with my family. That was during Thanksgiving weekend or something like that, right?
yeah, so it was leading up to Thanksgiving week, and
Okay.
I had work on Tuesday. Coordinates came out like Tuesday morning, and I had off on Wednesday. So I'm like, all right, let's just do this thing on no sleep, you know. So I left at 10 at night, had no work the next day, so I was ready to roll. So
That's crazy. So, all right. So the back end of the story is I reached out to David. So we were just there yesterday, by the way. We're both pretty tired because we went there not for the first time, for the second time, just for me to create this video on YouTube. Hopefully that will come out on January 1st. And this podcast will come out right after to like give a story of like how we got to collab or made the video, right? So basically, when I saw the story on my phone, on Chrome, there was an article saying that Monolith was discovered somewhere in Utah, and then I saw your face on the article. I pressed on it, and I think they tagged you or gave the Instagram handle. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna reach out to see if he's available to like do a collab, right? And then that's how I reached out to you. You weren't the only person that I reached out to. You, the guy who removed it later on. The thing is, this was a whole probably leading up to this moment. It was like a 3-week thing, right? Because when
it was about 3 weeks of just trying to get other people together. And
exactly, because when I reached out, it was just the beginning when it started, and there was only one monolith, and that was in Utah. The other ones were not like found in other states or other countries. Like that was not a thing.
No, they were popping up like probably 20 of them now.
Exactly.
So,
Now they're popping up everywhere, like monolith here, monolith there, and I really wanted to do the story just like leading up to that moment, you finding it, right? I didn't know how crazy it would get, like all around the world, right?
yeah.
And then when they removed it, I was like, you know what? Let me think of a way to make a video of like incorporating you, the guy who removed it, and a couple of other guys who were there in the site, right? So obviously some of them did not answer on the DMs, and I was like, you know what? Let me resort to this project just to go investigate. Was it actually man-made, or was it like aliens? You know? I mean, if you guys watched the video, you guys already know the answer.
Yeah, and I think like it was enough of excitement around, hey, is this something special? Which I think in 2020 it would have been pretty amazing if it was, right?
Yeah.
Maybe like something otherworldly. And, you know, at the end of the day, it rallied a bunch of people together under something like positive they could focus on in the middle of all the negative news cycles, right?
I see.
So it was a pretty cool journey either way.
All right, so the question everyone wants to ask, right? So how did you find the coordinates, and what made you go out and see the monolith, right? I know that you told me this yesterday. We had like a 14-hour car ride, and then just to cover this for a lot of people, what made you go out there, and what motivated you to go discover the monolith?
Yeah, so I think I'll start with the coordinates, right? So
Yeah.
the coordinates, actually, I had a pretty small part in even finding or locating, right? So the Reddit team, I mean, they're just awesome, really great ingenuity, right?
Okay.
So there's a couple websites. One of them's like flighttracker.com.
Yeah.
And if, you know, whoever was on Reddit, you know, they had a paid subscription to that. So they can look at all flights, even flights in the past. And they saw that the helicopter from the public service flight crew, right? They could see where it would drop below the radar screen. Drops below the radar screen, that's telling you like, hey, maybe it landed there, right? So So then, probably a group of 10 of them on Reddit were all on Google Earth searching inch by inch, right, throughout the desert in that general vicinity. It took almost 36 hours, I think, to locate it. So
Yeah. Um, that's crazy. Like, you have to be that crazy enough about the monolith to just like go to Google Earth and like find it and throw the coordinates out there, right?
And I think that's why it had
Like, who's investigating this stuff? Like, please comment down below on this video.
I think on one of my YouTube videos I put the link on there from the Reddit stream, because it is kind of funny, right? So you got all these people and they're like, oh man, I'm like, 12 beers in and I still haven't found it. They're just searching for days.
12 years in.
like these just sitting there for hours. Anyway, they finally locate in a vicinity of what looks exactly like what the pilots were in. They were referencing red rock color on Google Earth to the video.
Okay.
Being really like particular. And they saw this linear shadow, and they're like, we think this is it, but there's no way to confirm. And I'm just like, obviously thinking the monolith is cool, and I like hiking. And
so it's not even confirmed, and you're like, all right, I'm going to pack my shit and go.
Yeah. Well, basically, they needed to, like, they wanted someone to confirm.
Yeah.
So I was like, screw it. Because even...
what if you drove for 7 hours for nothing?
Well, you saw it yesterday. It's a beautiful view.
Yeah,
so
it's a beautiful view, yeah.
For me, I like hiking and being out in nature, right?
So that's your passion.
Yeah,
so it doesn't even feel like work.
No.
Yeah, that was like the dumbest question ever.
Like, for me, it's like, okay, I'm not gonna lie, it would have sucked to drive 6.5 hours. And
exactly.
Like, oh, it's a stack of rocks. But at the end of the day, like, I saw 12 shooting stars. I like was under the night sky, out there, and like a little bit of peace and nature. And then on the way out, it's like beautiful red rock. You saw that, so
yeah, it was awesome. So you guys don't see the part where, like, I don't know, like I kind of struggled as a passenger, sitting next to you, going off road, right? So in the videos, like, it looks like, oh, it's just like a little drive over like the, I don't know, like the rocks or something. No, like that was painful. We're just like going like up and down under your Subaru. It was like crazy. I felt like I was back home, actually.
Well, the funny part about it is, you drove for 6 hours, right? So you're probably like pretty tired at that point anyway. The day of the first.
No, the paved road was amazing. Like, I have no complaints about that. But when we hit off road, like for maybe 45 minutes, it was like 15 miles, right?
That's where it wears on you, right? After that long of a drive.
Exactly. And then every time the rocks hit on the bottom of the car and I'm making like a popping sound, I was like, heartbreaking moment. I'm like, oh my god, let's just not. I don't want to get stranded like in the middle of nowhere, because I've never been through that, right? And what you guys might not know is David is a veteran, Iraq and Afghanistan veteran. So for him, it's just like, fuck this, like this shit is too easy for me, If we get stranded, like, I got this kind of thing. But for me, I'm just like freaking out every moment.
It was pretty funny. Like, I enjoyed it. It was entertaining for me.
Yeah. So with the hiking and stuff, like, how do you think you developed that passion? Like, do you think, was it through like the wars you went to in Iraq and Afghanistan, or like, is this something you grew up with in the nature all the time, going out hiking?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think it's more of how I grew up. Like every summer, I'd go up to my grandparents, and they had a bunch of acreage up in northern New York. Yeah. And my grandfather, like towards the end of his life, he had a pretty large garden in the backyard. Like, the way he had his land set up, it was almost as if he could sustain off the land, except for like, maybe a few grocery needs or something, like creature comforts. But he had it to a point where there was like, a 30-foot by 50-foot garden.
That's really
nice. We had ponds, streams, fishing. So I got to spend my whole summer up there, and he really taught me to like respect the land, but also have those moments of peace with our planet, and to love it and take care of it. And sometimes I feel like our world is so artificial. Yeah. And we're surrounded by technology all the time.
All the freaking time.
And there's no moment to slow down in our lives. A lot of, and so getting out in nature gives you that moment. When we were out there yesterday, I even stood still for a minute. I was like, you hear that?
Oh, you did that for like a couple times. You're like 3 times. Because like I don't know how it feels to be like in dead quiet, right? And you're like, you kind of gave me this hint, like, stop breathing, like, and I stopped breathing, and I'm like, this is mad quiet.
Yeah.
Like, this is so quiet.
No
Yeah.
animals, nothing, like just complete silence.
Yeah.
And it's weird because we never hear that in our lives anymore. Even at night, people want white noise, right? Because you need something.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So the short answer is basically you grew up with like in the nature, right?
Short answer, yeah. So
That's awesome. So I don't know. I've seen videos on YouTube or like Facebook. It was trending like crazy like like couple of months ago. The guy went out running or hiking somewhere in Colorado, and then he gets in face with like the mountain lion. You know, that's the only thing that I'm scared of, right?
yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't scared before because I didn't know the consequences of hiking. So I blindly went without thinking of any animals being there, right? So during the summer, we went out with my friends to hike in Colorado. We were there for 6 hours. And me seeing that video at home in the comfort of my house, I'm like, what was I thinking hiking for 6 hours and like a couple hours back? You know, like what if I was in that situation where the mountain lion's just like
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
that's
at that
staring at my face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'll probably be dead. You know, that video just like I don't know, it shook me up a little bit, but I don't know. I and the thing is, I still blindly go to the hikes without thinking about it. You know,
I think that's like you always gotta have contingencies. I even told you my first time out there, I had the mountain bike, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
a mountain bike's gonna get me either out of here a lot quicker or in because I didn't want to stop if the car would have.
yeah. I don't think the mountain bike would be any quicker than the mountain lion.
Dude, it would have been a little. Oh no, not quicker than that mountain lion. But yesterday, what I have on me, I had like a knife on me yesterday, you know, and like
Yeah.
I don't know, you always gotta have some contingencies and.
I came just with my cameras.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, that's it. That's the only thing I can protect myself with. But good thing you had the knife,
Yeah.
because we're gonna touch base on like what we did in the place with Monolith, right? So even though like I took a flight from Chicago to Salt Lake City,
Yeah.
and then the next morning we went out and we drove from like 6:45 or 6:50 a.m. all the way. What time did we got there? Do you think like
So
2?
we probably got there 1:30, 2 o'clock.
1:30,
Yeah,
2
it was
o'clock.
probably 7 hours total stopping.
I probably have pictures too.
Yeah.
Like what time?
I think
we
it
were,
was-
like there.
It was around 1:30 or 2.
Yeah, let's check
'Cause
out
we were
what time we
probably on
got
that dirt
there.
road for like 45 minutes.
Yeah. So I took the picture at 2:38 p.m. at All right. So this is the crazy part. It says Moab.
Yeah.
Like we are at Moab, but that's not Moab.
That's not it, you know?
It's
like
2 hours
45.
away from Moab.
Yeah, everyone
you know?
thinks like, oh, it's right outside the city. It's like it is in the sense that it's 2.5 hours, and Moab's the nearest city, right? Like
Yeah.
there's nothing else around. So.
Exactly. The way we got there was crazy.
Yeah.
So all right, let's touch base upon like why I came here and why I wanted to do this, right? I'm kind of like always I'm an adventurer. I like to go places and discover things that will make me tick and keep going, right? And this is something that is crazy. The first monolith that was discovered here in Utah. You know, I don't want to go to California or other places that's been erected like just recently, you know?
Yeah.
Because you automatically know it's man-made. People are seeing the trend. They want to hop in, and then they want to build something and then put it out there and then
Yeah,
see it. With me, I was just like, I want to go to the site where the first one was discovered. Like
For 5 years.
for 5
Yeah.
years. Yeah. It's crazy that it was there for 5 years, right? And no one's claiming this piece as an art piece. Obviously, it's not like alien made. It's a human made piece. Because we found like adhesive. I still have the adhesive in my backpack.
I would have liked for that to have been like a
Can I-
microchip or something.
Should I
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
pull
yeah.
it out?
You got it. Oh man, or it disappeared. I don't know.
Okay. No, it didn't disappear. It's in my other backpack. All right. So yeah,
It looks really cool though.
we got the adhesive from there, and then what was crazy that I'm pissed the person who removed it, right, or the group of people that removed it, or they claiming to remove it, right?
Yeah, claiming.
They're claiming. I've reached out to those people. Obviously, no answer from them. I want to know why they did it, and obviously, the statement he made was like, "Oh, let's preserve the nature. Let's keep the nature that's untouched, be untouched." You know, but obviously, when we drove yesterday, there's like tarmacs, like there's like, how can I say, there's like campsites, there are like tire tracks.
Well, and
Like people have been already going there. You know what I mean?
And something we didn't realize last time is there was literally cow pastures.
Yeah.
So one thing that someone had hit me up about is like, hey, you know, some of that soil builds up over 10 years, and it's actually truly more alive than not, even though it's not moving, right? There's bacteria that grows up.
Yeah.
It grows there and actually protects the ecosystem. And I'm like, hey, I got that. But there's literally 20, 30 cows in the pasture, in that area, walking all around.
Yeah.
The soil is not going to be contained within that ecosystem. Anyway, it's pretty much an active farm, as we saw later.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah. And that place is not untouched, because from far away we were driving and we saw like a mile down from where we parked the car to walk down to the Monolith. There was like a house too.
Yeah,
you know,
and
somebody
that's where I
built
think
the
the
house.
farm
And then
was.
when you mentioned it, I couldn't see it, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't see it at first. And then when I saw it, I'm like, okay, this is a square box.
It looked creepy.
It looked creepy, yeah. And then they're like cows around. And I just really wanted to go there. I'm like, is there a civilization? Is there like people living there? Like, if there are, let's ask questions, right? So obviously we went out to the Monolith site. We walked down there. We found a bunch of rocks just like piled up on top of that site. I don't know who would do that. Like, who's crazy enough to like cover the site up, right?
They covered it up and it was like all filled in with dirt, so you couldn't even see the triangle.
Yeah.
Like the actual cuts anymore, right? You
Exactly. Yeah. I'm so confused why they did that. Like, why are you trying to cover this thing up, right? And then everyone's so like, oh, is this a alien thing or is this a human thing? Like, why don't you just go and discover for yourselves, right? I don't know if the State Department is trying to like find out about this, or they just don't care, you know. So that's why I guess we went out there to do the work for all of you guys. So we went out there and then we removed all the rocks that were piled up on top of that triangle, and then we started to like remove all the dirt piles that were there. And then, as you guys saw on the video, David takes out his knife and then cleans the part where it was sawed, right? So they used like electrical saw.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Did that look like an electrical saw?
They used a saw. I mean, it definitely probably needed to be plugged in. I don't know if sometimes the battery operated saws don't have the same power. So I mean, if that was, then great. But honestly, we even saw that riverbed where you could even probably get a truck up in there.
Exactly, and then you think that they got like an ATV there?
I think ATV or a truck.
ATV or a truck, yeah.
I mean, even that place we found, that house.
Yeah.
It was stainless steel on the outside. Right.
Oh, let's talk about it a little later. Let's just mention that. Let's just talk about
I'm picturing a truck driving over there. You know.
You're picturing a truck driving over there. So, and then we discovered that it was really sawed, and then plus to keep it in the place, they used adhesive. I think that's adhesive, right? Adhesive that has been there for 5 years, and it dried up so much that it's like now plastic. You know, like if you bend it, it will snap in half, basically.
Yeah, it looked really brittle. They used a ton of adhesive though. Whoever was getting that thing in there wanted it to stay. I mean, they did a good job. When I walked up on it that morning, like there was zero corrosion on this thing.
Yeah.
They had it sealed at the bottom with what looked like some silicone.
Yeah.
But it might have actually ended up being that adhesive that we were finding.
Yeah.
And then and the only thing really wrong with it was missing 2 rivets up top, which honestly I think was the day before.
The thing that got me convinced that it was actually man-made was the rivets.
Yeah.
When you were filming in the video, I saw rivets. I was like, all right, this is definitely not like, you know.
the people who are like Space Odyssey fans from the book, like Space Odyssey 2001, the monoliths are obviously all solid one piece.
Yeah, they're rectangular or something, right?
Otherworldly, right? They're sending out signals. This was 3 pieces of stainless steel riveted together, right? And it was hollow.
Yeah.
So, it would have been cool if it was otherwise, but.
All right, but to the guys who removed it, I think his name is Sylvan, right? You guys are assholes. I have to tell you guys just assholes. Like, literally, you guys were saying that there are no human beings there, but a mile and a half outside of Monolith, there was a house and a container. There was a in a farm, and there was a bed, and then we saw like a whiskey, a bottle of whiskey there too in that house.
And honestly, like,
Yeah.
one person can live off the land and still leave no trace and still not be messing with the ecosystem and the soil.
Yeah.
The thing is like when you have 20 cows on a farm area, and here's the funny part: the house was 1.5 miles, but when we left the Monolith, the first place.
Oh, so you did you track the mileage?
Yeah. It's
So
like,
it was 1.5 miles.
it was no, it was 1.5 miles to that house.
To that house, yeah.
The cows were maybe the first cow that we saw right
Yeah.
off the road. That was
Yeah.
800 feet from the Monolith.
Yeah.
So all that terrain that they were worried about is a operating farm.
Exactly.
You know, so it's like you can't tell me that is untouched land.
Yeah.
So I'm all about the leave no trace movement. I think it's great. I think they were inauthentically pursuing some clout there.
Yeah,
as opposed
exactly.
to living up to the leave no trace mission.
Exactly.
So,
And I guess they got a bad clout, right? Everyone's just hating on them right now, including me. Like, because, like, how crazy would it be for that thing to just be there, right? Until, like, not let it be touched, you know? I think the State Department should have just claimed that as their own and then, like, made it a sightseeing place, right? It's like it would be the Times Square of Utah.
There's
thing,
like,
you know? I don't know if I'm sounding like literally like arrogant, but you know what I mean. I don't want anyone to touch that thing.
No. I think it frustrated a lot of people because it's not the only piece of art out in the Western Desert.
Yeah.
People travel all through Arizona,
Yeah.
all through Utah to see red rock art, and it's like a mix of metal art amongst nature, and it's very simplified, right? It doesn't take up a lot of foot space. I think it was maybe 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet.
Yeah.
You know, and it's minimalist art throughout the Western Desert. That was another example of minimalist art.
Yeah.
Probably an ode to McCracken, or potentially an ode to Space Odyssey 2001. You know? So
Yeah, McCracken died in 2011, though, right?
I think around that time. Yeah.
2010, 2011. So it wasn't him, definitely.
No.
So please, whoever created this, like, reach out to us. We won't expose you. I mean, unless you want to be exposed, right? So yeah. By the way, so when we got there, we got enough pictures and videos to like remove all the dirt from there, and then all the I don't know if I should call it the silicone or adhesive. We removed all of that, and then we packed our stuff, and we're like, okay. By the way, I wanted to mention one thing. When you got up on the canyon to find if anyone left a trace of an artist, you know, because what did the Reddit people say?
Yeah, so a few people were writing me asking if anyone left any clues around.
Yeah.
Like, hey, maybe someone scratched something in a rock wall behind, an object or something. So we went up top. I went around and was kind of hunting for clues just in case. So
I see. So when you were up there and I was down there, and then you were gone for like good 5 minutes, and then I was like, David. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just scream a little bit louder, David. And then third time, David, nothing. Fourth time, David. I'm like, fuck. Like, did this guy just fall down? Like, we came together. Like, we have to leave together. I can't go back to the civilization without him. You know what I mean? And I was like, God, what the fuck am I? Like, I had, like, the worst scenarios in my head at that point. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to scream one more time, David. And then I hear you. I was like, God, okay, this is cool.
Hey, man, there was some, like, 2 cool valleys up there. And I'm like, man, that looks just like this slot canyon here. They probably put another monolith. So I had to go check, man,
Damn, yeah. No, I shit my pants during that time. The quietness just freaked me the fuck out. So we packed our stuff, and then we went out basically to go back to the closest city, Moab, right? And then me and David, we were like, all right, so that box thing, are we going to go check it out, or are we just going to leave? And I'm like, yo, we got to check it out. Like, I'm not leaving without, like, seeing what that box is. Like, that looked like a house. You know what I mean? So, take on the story.
Yeah, so I wasn't for sure about going out to the house, but we went out there anyway. And
I'm glad we did.
Yeah. So we park out front. We go around the corner, and we kind of look in a window, and that's when I got a little creeped out, because in the window it was like this really small room, small bed, like not made. It was just a mattress on like a box spring, and then and then like like a curtain nailed to the, I guess the doorway, what would have been a door.
Yeah, well, we peeked out the window, and then I was like, all right, we peeking out. I see a bed there. Cool, but I want to knock on the door and see if anyone's there. So we went around, if you guys seen in the video, knocked on the door, and then no one's answering. There was like a little creak, that sound, someone like stepping. I'm like, oh, seems like somebody's in there. But
When you knocked and I heard the creak, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this isn't gonna be good.
Yeah.
I was thinking somebody was in there.
yeah. Imagine someone just coming out with axe or like
Yeah.
rifle.
They would have got a free Subaru out of it, I guess. But so.
Free Subaru. Yeah. Well, you don't think like no? You've informed your family. I've informed my family where we're going. Right? If we're missing, the State Department of Utah would probably like looking for us, right? But okay, let's get to the point. So I get to touch the door handle, and I try to twist it, and then I see that it's open, and I look at David. I'm like,
I'm looking at him like, don't open that damn door.
And I'm like, I will. I open the door, I enter, and there's this like a fireplace, and then there's like a whiskey there, and I feel like, and then the whole thing of the house was made out of stainless steel, right?
Yeah.
Or just like metal piece, and I'm like, I think these are the guys who did it, right?
It looked just like the same metal. I mean,
Yeah.
it was ridged on the front of the house, right? And you'll see in the video if you watch it, it's ridged. But,
Yeah.
Even some roofing material, or I just find it hard to believe is they've got all those tools out there. They're
Yeah.
obviously local, because I do think that it might just be like a very base mini home to operate that farm out of.
I
that we
think-
now
I
know
think
is
so.
there, but
Yeah, I think so too. So when I saw that, I was like, you know what? I'm convinced that these people are probably the ones who made it, right?
I wouldn't be,
I wouldn't be surprised.
that whiskey was pretty empty. Maybe they got drunk one night. I was like, let's go put a friggin' Monolith out there, man. You know what I mean?
They probably watched Space Odyssey too
Yeah.
at that time. Yeah. So that was crazy, and then we went back on the road, and in total we were out there from the road that we took yesterday from 6:50 a.m. We got there by 2:30 or something, and then we were back by 11:18.
Yeah, I think it was almost an 18-hour trip nonstop.
That
Right?
was ridiculous. And the thing is, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, this is pain in the ass," right? It didn't feel like a pain in the ass doing
No,
that.
it was fun, man.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
Like me and David, we were in the car. Like obviously we're doing a podcast, right? We had our own like intimate podcast, like for like hours on end when we were on the road. We got to know each other even closer.
Yeah.
Especially David telling me all the stories about Afghanistan and a little bit of Iraq, but mostly Afghanistan, because like I'm from that part of the world. I'm from Uzbekistan,
Yeah,
right up north, and I confirmed a couple of cultural things, Yeah. And then he was telling me a lot of things about Afghani people, but it's pretty crazy. But I want to mention that like whatever you said, like yes, there are like a couple of things that are similar, but life is totally different. It's like arrogant to say this. It's like Mexico and the United States, right?
Yeah.
Things are really rough in Mexico with cartel and drug dealers, right? And then the U.S. is like much safer
Right.
compared to
Yeah.
Mexico, right? I would probably put that in the category of like Uzbekistan and Afghanistan,
Right.
because our borders are protected by, I think, Russian
I
Federation.
remember you telling me that yesterday. Yeah, and I think like
Yeah.
the biggest thing I took away from both of those experiences is that if you take governments out of everything,
Yeah.
basic family,
Yeah.
like human beings all want the same thing.
Yeah.
We're all just trying to live the best life that we can.
Yeah.
Some are given better opportunities and more opportunity than others, and I do think that sometimes it's like politics and government that get in the way and
Of
affect people's lives, right, and
the
limit them.
peace, right?
Yeah.
Well, politics is all about money at the end of the day. So, and people are the ones who actually suffer in that region, right? And whatever you told me about like how there is like, how can I say, contradiction between like being a male and a female in Afghanistan. And I feel like that's like the society we live in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just Afghanistan. I feel like it's a lot of the part of the world where I feel like it's called toxic masculinity, right?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
what it's called, right? It's
Yeah.
just like just want to be, just want to have more power than women, and then like, how can I say, and justify anything that you do as being, oh, I'm a man and that's a woman kind of thing.
I think the scary part, right, is like, especially people in position of power, and
Yeah.
just human beings in general. I think if they want to be convinced of something, they can justify their actions in any way that they want, right?
I see. Yeah.
Which is pretty scary to
Yeah.
think about. So
Yeah. By the way, I wanted to like also talk about like how similar is the United States to that part of the world. I feel like not the whole United States, obviously. I feel like this Utah, Colorado area are very similar to like the Central Asian area. I would have mentioned Uzbekistan. I would have mentioned like Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan has their own Grand Canyon. That's just like Grand Canyon, or probably bigger. I have no clue. You guys need to make your research.
yeah, you were
Don't hold
telling
me
how
accountable.
beautiful it was out there, though.
It is, yeah. And the thing is, not a lot of people have discovered that site yet. You know what I mean? And I've seen like a couple of videos on YouTube, and they're like, "Oh, Grand Canyon of Kazakhstan." I'm like, Kazakhstan has a Grand Canyon, you know?
Dude,
I was so
YouTube round
surprised.
2, we'll head out to the Kazakhstan Grand Canyon, man. I'll go out
Yeah,
there.
Kazakhs, like hit us up on the DMs. Yeah, and Tajikistan is like Colorado or the mountains of Utah here, because the mountains I see here, like with a lot of snow. It's pretty beautiful. It looks like the mountains of Tajikistan. I've never been to either of those places. Just to mention, not the mountains of Kazakhstan. I've been to Kazakhstan, but not the Grand Canyon of Kazakhstan, and I've never been to Tajikistan. But I would want to discover that part of the world too, because like they're directly on the opposite sides of the globe, right?
Right. With
So
similar terrain, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, with similar terrain, and I would like to discover all that parts of it, and obviously, and also, how can I say, they're on the opposite side of the globe, but I think the people are actually the same. Like, you know, they're like Mormons here, they're religious people on this side, right here on Utah and the Colorado area, who are like really intact with their religion. And I think that it's like the same kind of thing like back home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when we were sharing like the stories of like how this group of people are towards their women, or how they are respectful of their religion, you know, how they're strict with their religion. And I'm just seeing, I'm listening to those people who are from Utah, and I'm like, that's back home. You know what I mean?
And I think like with anyone, and this is why I'm a big advocate.
Would you like you've seen both sides, right? So you've been to Afghanistan, and you've seen like this side too. Would you correlate like, or like are they like,
if I
and like in the same kind of thinking?
I guess for me,
mode?
if I stay away from like the religious aspect of it,
Yeah,
and
the cultural aspect.
If I just get down to like cultural aspect, is I think that's the biggest thing is a lot of people, especially in the United States, right? Sometimes don't ever leave the United States, and I think when you do, no matter where you go in the world, you're gonna find out that
most people are the same.
This whole us and them mentality that countries and nations try to project.
Yeah,
there shouldn't be an us and them. Is like you'll go and learn and get to know human beings at a very basic level. Is we're all the same.
We're all the same.
We all have the same wants and needs and desires, and I think that sometimes there's a lot of separatism that happens. You know?
And
so I could argue, if I stay away from like any of the religious or political stuff, is absolutely, I can guarantee you that, you know, people here have the same wants and needs as people anywhere else in the world.
Exactly, yeah. And I love Utah, and I love the people of Utah. I mentioned that way too many times yesterday too, probably. Yeah, and that is crazy. I hope to come here. I've always said this. I want to move here sometime. I don't know, probably in my 30s or something, because I really like it here. There's so much mountains, and like hiking is one of the things that people do here. Hiking, swimming, or like, right?
Yeah, Utah's got, it's 5 national parks all in one state.
Or like skiing, or you know, like.
But you can do, anything here, right? Like yesterday we drove 7 hours. And
we drove through many terrain. Right. Like there's like snow. It was like sunny, you know, and then
we hit up in a 4-hour period of that drive. Top of a mountain, snow, fog,
Yeah,
9
fog.
degrees, and then almost 50 degrees in the middle of the Red Rock Desert, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's crazy. So, David, the question is, now, what is your journey with hiking and stuff? Like, you love doing this stuff, right? And obviously, you have your YouTube channel now. You just set up.
yeah, I just set that one up.
Yeah. What are you thinking you're gonna do with that channel, or like, what do you want to do with hiking stuff? You know, like, are you trying to in the future? Are you trying to promote like, go outside and soak up the nature and stuff?
Yeah, I think
And hike?
I had like a bunch of probably over 1,000 different people write me, and I asked a lot of advice on like what do they like to see, and I realized there's a huge interest out there for like nature and seeing different parts of the world that people don't get to see. And
Yeah.
So I'd really like to turn it a little bit into like a kind of an adventure channel, but also make it instructional, either about like the environment and some survival skills. And
I think this is something you would be great at,
Thanks,
like
man.
survival skills, because you were in the military for what, 10 years?
10 years, yeah.
10 years, and you have seen like the worst things out there, and you could like maybe teach people who are out there trying to like get a class in survival skills, right? So if you have left me somewhere in like the middle of the desert, like I wouldn't know what to do. You know what I
Almost
mean?
yesterday, right?
I'd be like, "Where's my Uber?" You know, like, how can I get my Postmates? kind
Well,
of thing,
and here's the cool part is there's like, for me is, yes, I have a pretty good understanding of it, but there's a ton of experts out there. But who's to say I can't reach out to those experts, collaborate with them, and like get their insights? And
Exactly. The thing is, I feel like you're an expert too, for doing it for 10 years. You know, like being out in Iraq and Afghanistan as an American, and just seeing and going through war, and like I would call you like
Thanks,
an
man.
expert
Yeah.
at doing like in survival mode.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know what I mean. Like you told me, you were jumping off from helicopters. You took like what was it, offensive driving class? Like, what is it?
No, yeah. There's different classes, right? Like
Yeah.
offensive and aggressive driving course. For,
Offense-
like, a
yeah,
personal
offensive-
security detachment.
Yeah,
stuff
offensive
like that.
and aggressive driving
Yeah,
class.
yeah.
So, like, you've done all that.
That's
And the thing
true, yeah.
is, like, yesterday I was freaking the fuck out when I was in the car with you. They were like, there was like a, how can I say, the road goes down and up. And David is just like, all right, so the only way to get through this is like 30 miles an hour. I'm like, no.
It wasn't that fast, but yeah,
No, it
yeah.
was
It's
a-
like you
it
needed
was
some
a-
speed, right, and momentum of the vehicle to get through.
Yeah,
so.
and then we're just like plow through the whole thing, and then I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
like this is insane. And the thing is, how can I say, I realize I live such a great life, like in the West, that I don't have to face these kinds of roads, right? In my mind, I'll tell you, I haven't said it to you yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, god damn, this is stressful being in this freaking road. I wonder how people live like somewhere in Afghanistan
Every
their
day.
roads
That's
are
a lot,
not
yeah.
paved, you know?
Yeah.
I'm already stressed out from this road. You know what I mean? I'm like, they're probably screwed. And I'm like seeing that, like, how I don't know how blessed I am to to live in a place where there's like paved roads. You know, you could order an Uber. That's like, I don't think even kings lived like this back 200, 300 years ago.
Think about like
You know?
the things that seem normal in our life,
Yeah.
like having a paved road or
Yeah.
having water,
Yeah.
even out of a faucet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of human beings every single day who don't have that, you know.
Exactly.
So,
So the thing is, like, it's easy to see something from the screen, right?
yeah.
Like, it's easy to say, like, obviously when you showed me that video of you coming out from the trail and stuff, and then you're driving on the video,
Yeah.
and then I was like, it seems like it's an okay drive. When
I showed you before you came here.
that's why I think perspective is like so important to get out there, right? To get out there to actually experience it, not through the cameras or like the videos that we see, but get out there, drive through those, off-roading places and see the nature, get out of your comfort zone, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. And then see how people live in other countries, and then you'll appreciate what you have even more, right?
Yeah, and I think like just get in touch with being human again. You know,
Exactly.
When you get out there in the elements,
Yeah.
you're testing your body, you're testing your mindset a little bit.
Exactly, yeah.
And it does bring you back to say, like, man, over thousands of years, we've gotten to a level of comfort in our civilization. Like, man, this is what my body was originally meant to survive and designed to, like, acclimate to.
Yeah.
Right? And
Exactly.
I just say it's got to be in a structured manner. And I think that's, like, part of what I want to do is be able to educate people on that so that they feel more confident in going out and doing some of these cool things and experiencing life in a different way.
Exactly. So our DNA was designed to basically, how can I say, to get out there, hunt, for our food, for our shelter or something, bring food for the family and stuff. And I think like there's a huge thing that I saw about Monolith, a class. I think a professor teaches something about Monolith, right?
Okay.
So like millions of years ago when humans were just like living in caves, like stupid, like not knowing anything.
Yeah.
The guy says basically a higher power. I think it's a god or aliens, whatever it is, right? It's whatever the professor says. He basically sends the monolith to Earth, as a triangular shape, as to advance human, how can I say, intellectual.
Right.
So that triangle, you could see it, how can I say, you could apply it to today's geometry, right? And even the tile work, if you could see it, there's like a geometry of like that triangle you could see everywhere. In building houses, cars, even our structure of our faces. And even though like, I don't know if you've seen Islamic art that has the loops and stuff, even that applies to like the monolith shape,
When you were showing me some of that art, like it's beautiful, right? Yesterday.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Space Odyssey 2001.
Yeah.
Which I know we're going from a kind of a like that professor's perspective to a book, but it kind of is an ode to that, and it the monolith in that book and in that movie does pretty much that's what it's there for, right? It's very similar to like early humans or prior to that, right?
Yeah.
Kind of help design them and nudge them in the right direction.
Exactly. Probably like a higher power just sends these like metal pieces to be like, yo, figure this thing out, right? And then no one probably at that time has ever seen a triangular shape. They're like, what the hell is this? Right?
What's going on here?
What's going on, right? And then the way professor just like explains like the triangle is just, it shapes in stars, it shapes in boxes, it just works everything with like our how can I say, our environment. The housing, the cars, and everything is just structured in a geometrical way,
Right.
So, and I was like pretty convinced that with Professor's theory, maybe that's why it was sent to Earth for, maybe back then, I don't know if it was actually sent though. That's just a theory, right?
Yeah, I think like, but that's kind of what they tell that story of in Space Odyssey is I don't want to ruin the book for anyone, so check it out. But it's kind of a cool concept.
Summarize it for us.
Yeah, so basically, the monolith teaches our ancestors to human beings maybe how to start using their hands, like basically sending signals out, kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they start learning to use tools. Like millions of years go by, right?
Yeah.
And it ends up being a portal that brings you to a higher level of consciousness within the universe.
Okay.
And to your point, it could be God or it could be a higher intelligence. The book doesn't really say, right? It lets you translate for yourself.
For yourself, because it's your choice on what to believe in.
Your choice, your belief system, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the book is it stays broad enough, but it's a really cool concept.
Yeah.
So
it stays broad enough for you to find out what you believe in.
Right.
At the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. This was a tricky situation with a monolith because it's 2020. Now anything is possible for me. Like whatever happened with COVID and stuff, I never ever thought that it would happen.
Right.
Like, if you would ask me December or November of 2019 that the country will lock down, you're gonna be forced to move out from this New York City apartment, and then this city is gonna be empty for a couple of months down. a lot of people is gonna lose their jobs, you know, and there's gonna be a monolith found like at the end of the year in somewhere in Utah, and people are gonna talk about like alien invasion or something. I'm obviously joking, but the alien part, I also found on the article where, no, not the article, the Chrome articles that I found yours in.
Yeah.
There was like a title saying scientists have just found like radio emissions from like the alien world or something. I'm like, this is before me coming to Utah.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, what the hell are you saying,
The
bro?
pulsars, yeah.
Like, and I'm thinking, so that thing is real, you know? The monolith is from like the, you know, higher source or higher power from the aliens. So, but I don't know. That just messed me up in the head, you know, when I read that. Because it's not just like any news outlets. It's just scientists are
Right.
saying that, you know, like
Yeah, the
radio
pulsar
emissions.
waves, radio emissions. Yeah, I think like
Yeah.
you and I talked a little bit on the drive. Is they found water on Mars at the poles. They found ice on the poles of our own moon.
Yeah.
And the whole importance of that is later you can, if you were to set up a base, right, you can
Yeah.
melt that down and then create oxygen by separating the molecules. But it's like, I find it really hard to believe that if in our own solar system we're starting to find elements that
Yeah.
are needed for life, that somewhere out
Yeah.
in this giant universe there's not something.
It's
right?
a giant universe, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, most of us are really scared. Like I've seen like a Yes Theory video about like aliens and stuff. They go to the city in the United States, and from that city, they're like group of people who have seen aliens or like I don't know, like a alien spaceship, you know. And it's not just one person. It's the group of people from the small village. You know what I mean? And then the guys who go there, they just make fun of those people. Like, how idiot are they to believe like there's like aliens? And when they see like the real human emotion, because human emotion doesn't lie when you express something, right? And these guys are just like, after talking to these people, they're like freaking out. They're like, yo, I don't want my reality to be tested right now. Like, I want to
Yeah.
reserve to my like,
Yeah.
you know, to my arrogant way of thinking of no aliens. You
Right.
know, like I want to keep making fun of these people, but they're freaking out because they believe that now there's aliens through those conversations,
Yeah.
because they're the ones who's going out there to investigate the whole thing, and they're not just getting this word from one person. It's multiple people from the same village, right?
Right.
And those kids just like freak out, and I'm like laughing. I'm like, oh my god, this is probably me.
This is gonna be me
This
if I
is
head
gonna
out
be-
to the monolith and see an alien.
Exactly. So shout out to the Yes Theory boys. I guess we're gonna be discovering more monoliths out there in the world that are like fake, made in the garages. I thought about making one, to be honest, just to kill time, right, until 2020 ends. But that is the whole thing, guys. I don't know if you have anything else to add on to whatever we talked about.
No, I think at the end of the day, 2020 was a crazy year.
Oh my God! It's December. What? It's December 20th today.
Yeah.
11 more days left. Hopefully, we will finish this year off like healthy, great, and then hopefully that 2021 will start to like doesn't feel like a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Like I knew this year was gonna be in the pain in the ass in the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
The year, I went out to celebrate New Year's with my family from 2019 to 2020.
Yeah.
And I flew back in from Chicago to New York, LaGuardia Airport, and I had just parked my car right outside of LaGuardia Airport. When I get to the car is just smashed. You know, like they stole all the airbags.
What?
You know, yeah, that was like this
So that
January
was the start
6th.
of your year. You're like, this is gonna be great.
Yeah,
This is
January
awesome.
January 6th. You know, when that happened, I was like, I have a feeling this year's gonna be fucked up. You know?
You're like, if this is how day
If-
one
if-
is starting,
if
like,
this is how the beginning of the year is starting, like I don't even want to know how it's gonna end. Obviously, the first 6 months was so stressful for me, for this year. But like, the rest 6 months is just me like, how can I say, getting out from uncertainty and making a certainty in my life, right? To make this content, it brings a lot of meaning to my life, you know. And I love doing it, and that's why I flew out here in Utah to make this video. Yeah, and I love to collaborate with someone like you.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I have something to say to other people out there who are watching this video, go out there, make new friends, new connections, network a lot. There's a lot of people on the planet that you can like become related to, right? Obviously, I believe I was there to shoot a music video last year in California, and we're sitting in the room, right? Me, my friend Natan, and then Nassim Black. He's like a rapper. He's like, there's a reason why we're all sitting here in this room.
Right.
It's the way we think. We almost think the same way, and we have the same kind of energy. That's why we're working. If we wouldn't have that energy of sharing the same kind of values, we wouldn't be in this room all together.
Right. We were talking about mindset and the people you keep in your life, right?
Exactly. So whenever, like yesterday, we had like, I don't know, 10 hours to ourselves to talk to each other. Like, I felt like the way we think are like almost the same way. You know what I mean? And it wouldn't be, I don't think the universe would bring us together, you know, to collaborate on this video or take this adventure together if we didn't, like, how can I say, click, you know what I mean?
It would have been a long 14-hour drive.
Yeah, we just hated each other. No, I'm telling you.
No, you're right,
the
man.
universe wouldn't make us work that way. You know what I mean? We
you're
would
spot
have
on.
never. Yeah, we would have never collaborated. We would have probably never. How can I say? Took that drive and then make these videos, and that's why when I try to collaborate with other people and who don't answer and I don't get answers back, I'm like, this person is just not meant to be. Because we're probably not in the same, how can I say, mindset, or the way we think is just too different, you know? So universe just like clicks everything in. That's what I'm like, you know, happy about. Like I have, how can I say, I have given my, I don't know, how do I come up with this sentence? I've given my will to the universe. So universe just does everything for me. You know what I mean? I don't force things anymore
Right.
to anyone or anything, and that's what like makes me happy. You know, and then whenever universe just adds everything up for your life, and then this is what you get. I'm just so happy with it.
Yeah, and I think the signs are there and the
because
opportunities
people get
are there.
because
It's
people
about
get
taking it, you know?
yeah. The thing is, a lot of people get frustrated.
Yeah.
Why is this thing not happening in my life? Why is this thing not happening in my life? Right?
Mhm.
Like I've built and developed a feeling of like, well, maybe a better thing is around the corner, kind of thing.
Well,
you
we
know?
talked about like instead of this happening to you, it's like why is this happening
Happening
for
for
me?
you.
Even if it's a negative thing,
Yeah.
there's something you're gonna learn and be able to like grow as a human being and a person, and
Yeah.
then drive on that improvement, right? And
Exactly.
a lot of that is in the realm of mindset and how you think about failures and success and everything. So
Exactly. So I had a blast coming here to Utah, Salt Lake City. Shout out to you. I really loved it here, even though it was a short stay. I'm catching a flight like maybe an hour or two.
driving over.
Thank you, David, for giving me your time and taking me out to the desert to show me that thing and just share your life stories. That was really touching. If you guys are not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next podcast.
All right, sounds good, man. See ya.
All right, take care.